Hi, I'm making this video to explain the structure of Chinese fantasy fiction through the lens of a Western fantasy fiction, as well as a very quick overview of what took place before the game of Black Myth WuKong. So players that are not familiar with WuKong and Chinese mythology or fantasy in general can have a very basic, easy to understand overview to help them enjoy the game a little more. So, Western fantasy fiction can be roughly divided into two categories. One is high fantasy, and the other is low fantasy. And the rule of thumb for high fantasy is the fact that magic is very common, and there's active involvement of deity and gods. There's generally a clear cut of good versus evil, and there are generally beautiful races such as elves. And a good example of Western high fantasy fiction is the book series The Lord of the Ring. And on the other hand side, for low fantasy, the rule of thumbs are the magic is generally costly and rare, so it's not something you see all the time. And the story is generally grounded in reality, and the involvement of deity and the gods are subtle and hinted at. And generally, there's no clear cut of good versus evil. And a good example of low fantasy Western story is Conan the Barbarian. To understand Chinese fantasy fictions, we first need to talk about the word xia. Xia can be roughly translated into chivalrous traveler. It's a little like knight errant in Western stories, but not exactly. The word xia is a generalized name for anybody that is traveling the land on a personal quest, but often they defend the weak and vanquish evil doers alone, basically along their way. But Chinese fantasy fiction, it can also be divided into two broad categories, and the category that's matching Western high fantasy for us is called xianxia. The word xian means ascended beings. We will talk about what that means in detail later, but for now, just know that xianxia story have a similar structure to Western high fantasies, such as magical abilities are very common, magical artifacts plays important roles, and there are generally multiple realms, such as a human realm, ascended beings realm, and there's the underworld or hell, and traveling between those realms is a very important aspect of Xianxia story. And also monsters such as yokai, shape-shifting animals is very common. And of course, the existence and the importance of ascended beings and gods. Black Myth WuKong belongs to this category of Chinese fantasy fiction. And on the other hand side, we also have something called wuxia. The word wu means martial, as in martial arts, swordsmanship, kung fu. This is roughly similar to Western low fantasy. Generally, in a wuxia story, magic is the result of perfecting a form of martial art. So magic do not exist by itself, basically. And story is generally grounded in reality or based off of historical events, and but perhaps with slightly stronger or mystical or physical abilities of various characters, such as being able to jump onto roofs and being able to hop from roof to roof and be able to run really fast. But no human in a wuxia story is able to fly, for example. And also, generally, there are no other realms, so things like traveling to and from underworld to the heavens, and direct involvement of gods do not exist in a wuxia setting. So, in a xianxia setting story, which Black Myth WuKong takes places, what's important is level of power and different realms. First, we will talk about Ren Jian, or the human realm. Ren means human, and Jian means in between, or we can translate as realm as well. So, human realm is obviously based off our real world, and it is structured like the real world. Since what's important is power, so here I have listed the characters you will encounter in a human world in the order of their power, be it physical power, magical power, or economic and political power. So at lowest rank we have the commoners, such as peasants, merchants, and artisans, and then above them we have leaders of private parties, but are not directly associated with governments, such as impoverished nobles, cult religious leaders, and merchant lords. Then above them, we have basically the people you will find in a government body, such as nobles, military personnel, court personnel, and obviously the royal family. And that is the human realm. Then we also have Yinjian, or the ghost realm, underworld or hell. One may take the ghost realm as a big prison. In Chinese culture, we believe that when a mortal being dies, basically any being with consciousness dies, their spirit and consciousness will go to the ghost realm, where it will be judged for the action they took while they were living, and they will suffer in the underworld to repent for their wrongdoing committed while living for a set period of time. After they have suffered, basically served their sentences, they will have to cross a bridge and drink a soup that will wipe their memories. Then they will reincarnate back into the human realm. It is possible for a human to reincarnate into an animal or inanimate object such as plant or rocks. And what you reincarnate as is also part of your punishment or reward for the action of your previous life. And some ghosts do not want to reincarnate, may end up being staffs, basically ghost staffs working in the underworld forever. That could be a blessing or punishment within itself. What is different in Chinese high fantasy is the idea of ascension. So powerful human mortal beings may see the wheel of reincarnation itself as a curse, because if you die, you lose all your progress in life. So wouldn't it be nice if you do not die at all, so you do not need to reincarnate? Thus, the action of cultivating oneself to achieve immortality is called xiu xian. Xiu means to repair or to work towards something, and xian means ascended beings. So in most xianxia story, achieving ascension is the goal for every mortal human being. So how one achieve ascension can be different from story to story, and generally there's no one single set path one has to follow. Usually one can achieve ascension by simply achieving extreme excellence in certain things. It can be anything. For example, if you have achieved extreme swordsmanship, you may become an ascended being. Or you achieve the extreme alchemy, or maybe you're just simply amazingly benevolent and you may ascend that way. But more often than not, most people achieve ascension by absorbing energy from something that is already really powerful, such as eating a fruit that was grown in the realm of gods. However, becoming ascended being does not mean you are a god. The realm of ascended being is just like a bigger version of a human realm. It has a hierarchy of power of its own. There are also commoner equivalent of peasants in the ascended realms, or commoners of ascended beings. It is just that even the lowest being in the ascended realm can perform some sort of magical abilities, and their lifespan compared to human is super long, so they are effectively immortal. However, they may still die by external means, such as in combat. However, generally speaking, other ascended beings will have ways to revive ascended beings. So, generally speaking, they do not have to reincarnate anymore. However, if there's no one there to help them, an ascended being may still die and end up reincarnating as a stronger mortal being in the human realm. So, you have to start over again. And also, the goal of ascended being is to continuously cultivate oneself, so they climb the hierarchy in the ascended realm, so they become more and more powerful. So how does Yao Guai or shape-shifting monsters fit into all of this? The goal to become ascended being is not just for humans, it is the goal for all sentient beings in the human realm. It is just that humans have an easier time doing it because humans have more autonomy and more ways of expressing themselves. Humans have arms and legs they can move around. When compared to a rock, for example, a human can learn to read and write. They can actively do things such as joining religious facilities, thus gaining external resources for self-improvement. So any animals, plants, or rock that have gained sentiencies and magical abilities always seem to find a way to shapeshift into a partial or full human form, so they may pursue the path of ascension just like human does. How does an inanimate object gain sentience, you ask? Well, in Chinese culture, it is believed that there are energy in the cosmos. It comes from the sun, the moon, and nature in general. So a rock may absorb energy from the cosmos over time passively, and it may take thousands of years for that to happen, but they may still gain sentiency over time. And then when they do that, they also learn magical abilities to shapeshift. And generally, the first thing inanimate object do is they try to grow arms, legs, so they can move around to a better place to basically hunt, or to other place that has more cosmic energy for them to absorb. And for animals, they want to shapeshift into humans so they can start doing human things. Anything that is non-human but have gained sentiency and the ability to shapeshift is considered yaoguai. And there are subcategories of yaoguai and many different subcategories, but we don't need to go in details. With the background information out of the way, we can now actually talk about the story of Wukong, what happened before the game takes place. So there are actually two stories related to Wukong that took place. One is Journey to the West, but before Journey to the West, there's a story of how Wukong made a big mess in the Ascended Realm. That's where we're gonna start. So Wukong actually started as a rock. Where the rock came from, there are many stories, so we are not gonna talk about that. But the fact is, it was a really powerful rock from the beginning, and the rock has chosen to take on the form of a monkey. Or some people say that a monkey was born from the rock. But what's important is Wukong took the form of a monkey, and he learned to interact with the world as a monkey. But because he's really powerful in the sense of magically, he soon became the king among the monkeys. And then as the monkey, later on, he was taken as a student by a Buddha. A Buddha is basically an ascended monk, and this Buddha taught him many of his magical abilities, basically how to use his magic to do various things, and also how to behave as a human. And then after that, he was promoted, basically granted the rank of a horsekeeper, basically a really low level staff in the heavenly core. His job was just to keep horses. And while he was working as a horsekeeper, he met a friend, which is a blacksmith in the royal armories. And basically, Wukong wanted it to, and the name Wukong was a title, basically granted by the Buddha. His teacher gave him the name Wukong. And so while Wukong was working as a horsekeeper, and he made some friends in the court. And then one of the friends was a blacksmith and as a royal armory, and Wukong wanted to have a weapon. But of all the weapon that was available in the royal armory was too light, because Wukong was such a strong character. So basically, he asked the blacksmith, "Is there anything stronger?" And the blacksmith friend told him, "There's something. There's a magical artifact that will suit you." And the thing is his staff. In Chinese, called 如意金箍棒. And to translate, the first two words, 如意 means at will, right? Something that behaves to one's wishes. 金箍 means golden band, and 棒 just means staff. But before that thing became a weapon, it was actually had a different name, and it called 定海神针. And the first word means to ping or calm down or to freeze something. And 海 means sea, 神 means god or godly, and 针 means needle. So basically, Wukong's staff was actually an artifact that was pinned to the bottom of the sea to keep that area of the sea calm. But upon hearing that this item can basically enlarge to an infinite scale at will and to be really heavy or really light at will, Wukong felt that that is a weapon that befits his ability. So he went to that location and he pulled out uh, basically this artifact, which caused extreme calamities to that particular section of the sea. Um, but anyway, Wukong being Wukong, he just took it and used it as his weapon. What happened afterwards was in the heavenly courts, there is something called a peach festival that happens every 1,000 years, and basically the royal orchard produce a magical peach of great power every 1,000 years. And then the court will have a great festival where you will invite all the nobilities and they will basically share. They will be granted the powerful peaches to eat. And Wukong was not invited because he is a lowly horse keeper, but he went anyway and he got drunk and he ate all the magical peaches, which obviously made the Jade Emperor really, really mad. This is the Jade Emperor, basically a really powerful ascended being. And he obviously called the guards and to try to capture Wukong, and then but Wukong was able to best all the guards, and the only people that was his evenly matched was Erlang, which is this guy in the game. And however, the two of them are evenly matched in combat powers, so no one can beat the other. So the Jade Emperor went to the Great Buddha, basically the ascended monk, the strongest of them all, to ask for his help to control Wukong. And what happened was this Buddha cut off his right hand, and his right hand is able to scale up to infinite size. So basically, Wukong was trapped in his palm, and Wukong was unable to escape, although Wukong is really powerful. And then the hand turned into a mountain and basically trapped Wukong under a mountain. All this took place before Journey of the West, and Wukong was stuck under the mountain for 500 years. The story of Journey to the West is this human monk, this human turned into a pig, Bajie. This was a monster turned into human, and obviously Wukong. So basically, another Buddha, this human monk was on a quest to basically go from China to India to retrieve the Buddhism scroll. And then this ascended Buddha knows that him as a mortal being is unable to complete the task by himself, so he told him that he should go to release Wukong and have Wukong assist him on the journey. But he also knows that him being a benevolent human being is unable to control Wukong. So basically, she had the great Buddha to use one of his heartstring to make a band, and the band is basically what's used to control Wukong. You will once Wukong wears it, and then the monk is able to recite a scripture, and when he says a scripture, it will cause tremendous amount of pain to Wukong. So basically, he went to the mountain and offered the Wukong the deal. Basically, if he wants to be free, he has to wear the band, and he has to accompany him on the journey. Basically, as a way to redeem himself and to trade for his freedom. So Wukong agreed to the deal, and he put on the band, and the four of them went on a journey to the west, and they have to overcome 81 struggles, and they were successful in their quest. And upon returning, all of them basically achieved godhood, and Wukong was granted the title of 斗战神佛, which means struggle, battle, victory, and monk. So basically, he turned into a Buddha. But Wukong being Wukong, he feels that the title is just another way to control him, and he felt that he has done his part of the bargain, and he just want to return to the mountains and to be his monkey king. And that is basically the end to the Journey of the West. And then at the start of the game is obviously the Jade Emperor and Erlang coming to the mountains to try to capture him because they do not trust they don't want trust Wukong to be left alone. So basically that is what happened before Black Myth WuKong. And then Black Myth WuKong is obviously the story of what Div Sync happened after. And Journey to the West and the story before Journey to the West was written 500 years ago. So these are considered canon, and what happened after is just basically anyone's guess. And so this band is not a crown. It's a slave collar, if you will.